Hello, Blazor fans. Welcome to another Blazor Power Hour. We left off last week with a dashboard that we're building. The dashboard is part of the series that we're working on, which is why we've been calling it the Blazor Solar Power Hour. So Lance here has some solar panels on his home, and we are collecting data from it and displaying that data in a dashboard that we're building. That's the short version of it. And let's take a look at what we have so far.
Yeah, let's catch Justin up too.
Yeah, we need to catch you up because you weren't here. You were on vacation. And we changed things a little bit. So we added a new surrounding shell to the app. So we have this nice accordion style, drawer style navigation. And we have a nice dark theme here. We pulled all of this out of the UI Accelerator, which was something that we just released that helps you build these dashboards really quickly. So we copied and pasted the new layout in and then got started on building out the dashboard part. And we can take our panels and rearrange them, which I see like this behavior is a little odd, like with the scroll bars and whatnot. I think this is because we don't have a defined size. And when we start dragging panels, it kind of gets lost.
I think that gauge is the only one that needs, they're all set to auto maybe. And once you get rid of the big one, they adjust down to the smallest size that they need.
Yeah, so we've got a gauge that's not resizing properly. That's something we needed to troubleshoot today. And then we'll probably add some kind of state manager in here to save the arrangement of the panels, because right now, if I refresh this page, we kind of go back to a default state here where it's source order, basically. Whatever's in the markup, this is how it's displayed. And what I don't want to do is come in here, rearrange these, and get it to where I like it, and then leave and come back and have it erase all of my settings. So we'll have to implement that as well. But the thing that we got stuck on last week, right before we ended the show, was the fact that when we resize these, the charts should resize, and we got one being a pain here, and it doesn't really want to resize. So we should probably look into that. I originally assumed it was something to do with our throttling of the data that comes in. You'll see it kind of spring to life there once data starts flowing. But Justin and I were talking before the show, and Justin actually pointed out something that made me find the actual root cause of this. So let's get into it. Let's do some troubleshooting, guys. Let me get
Hi, Napalm Code
my screen here.
Visitor.
Hey. What's up, Napalm? How are you doing? Let's do a little troubleshooting, and this is something that I found strange. If I go in here and hit a breakpoint on this item resize, this item resize is triggered by the tile layout, and it has an on resize event. The delegate here is item resize, and if I fire this up, expect to hit a breakpoint on this item resize whenever I resize something. Oh, it actually works. Wow, I actually got a breakpoint there. What do you know? I tried this earlier and I couldn't get a breakpoint to fire. Now it's working. So yay for live streaming actually being in my favor this time. So we have a breakpoint. So we know that that is being hit. So that is not the problem. This item resize event is, if we go back here, let's see if it'll show me an IntelliSense. It's not going to do it. Let me try getting it to come up with a little keyboard action here. It should tell me what kind of event this is. Come on, item resize is a... Boy, usually it'll tell you that this should be an event callback. Like these are coming up.
Yeah, it's working for me on my end. It's an event callback.
It doesn't want to show up because I'm streaming. Maybe because I'm running, and then let's try. I'm going to delete it. On resize. There's on resize now. And I don't have my zoom tool.
Oh, so we have an on reorder event too. Nice. I was just going to ask.
Cool.
Do we need a save in both situations?
Resize. Oh boy, come on, Visual Studio. There we go.
Probably need to save
resize.
the state in both of those, but we only need to worry about the resize of the charts on resize.
There. Jeez, you got to be really quick on the keyboard to get this to show up right for the stream. What I was trying to show is this is an event callback. And whenever you're binding to an event callback, for folks that are learning Blazor, event callback internally calls and a state has changed. That was the point I was trying to make. Sorry for the delay, folks. So we don't need a state has changed here. So that is also not the problem. So we're hitting the breakpoint, not the problem. State has changed, not the problem. So what is the problem? Well, Justin pointed this out to me. If I run this again, I had not realized this before, but it's only one of the two charts that does it. So this one, that works. This one does not work. So it's not both of them. So it's not the event itself. It's something we're doing with the refresh on one of the two charts, which makes me go back and look at what these are. This one is the battery level gauge, and this is a Telerik arc gauge. If we look back here, this is a Telerik arc gauge. This is not a Telerik arc gauge. So this is simple user error right here. We are targeting the wrong chart. What we really want to do is look at the battery power gauge. Is that the right one? Which one? Oh, the battery level, battery power. We've got one more gauge in here. Linear gauge. That's the one we want. And
we don't even have a name for it yet. No wonder why.
We haven't named.
Yeah.
So back here, we want another Telerik linear gauge. And that one was getting what data? Telerik linear gauge, battery power level. Battery power level gauge. And we want to refresh that one. And once we do that, I think we're going to fix this problem. What do you guys think?
Yep. I didn't notice. Did you add the ref to the component?
Oh, I did. Good eye, Justin. Saved me again. At ref. So we don't have a reference to it, so it's going to be null, and then it just won't fire. This one is battery power level gauge. And why am I getting... Oh, I must have deleted the ending brace off the end there. All right, so we got our reference this time. Let's run it one more time.
Speaking of noise cancellation, how awesome is it to just have some earbuds in and be mowing and you can't hear your mower and you're like, you know it's loud, it's right in front of you. You're just like, this is magic.
Yeah. I've got some Bose noise canceling earbuds and I use them when I'm outdoors doing stuff. Put some podcasts on, just zone out. All right, so we've got the charts, they resize properly now, and we could probably feed these data. They're not going to jump around and be crazy looking like they were. And we are getting live data here, Lance, so that means your panels are up and running. Your broker is up and running. Is that going to trigger resize as well? Oh, that's an interesting one. Oh, well, that's only because the data refreshed. We pause that. Look at this. So that doesn't trigger a resize event on the components inside here because we're not physically grabbing this and resizing it. This is resizing, like, I guess the browser or the parent
Yeah, so we'll
would cause
need
that. Like,
another one in drawer change or drawer open change. We usually have an event for that.
there's a couple outlying factors here that can cause the charts to be the wrong size, it looks like. That's something I might have to deep dive into some documentation on and see what other support is available for resizing these things, because that's kind of outside the bounds of Blazor, really. So I do have something like that I could listen for this using a JavaScript interop, but that is just as bad as pulling the data here constantly because it detects every single pixel resize between your. It throttles on its own. It does have a throttling mechanism built in, but it can be it can be what do you call it? A performance hog if you don't implement it correctly. Okay. So we've got those things working. What? Well, there's some housekeeping that we probably should do with the titles of each of the panels. We've got battery power here, but we never labeled any of these.
That would have helped earlier.
Yeah, that probably would have helped earlier. We should probably do that. And then we also we need to save the state of this as well. So we'll have to look into saving the state here.
You know what I might also suggest is I notice that sometimes we confuse battery power with battery level. So in some spots it says power, but we really mean 0 to 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something to go after, but if we're in a spot where it is confusing, we could maybe consider renaming the one that is not as clear.
Okay. We have any naming suggestions?
Maybe battery percentage, because the value always comes in as a percentage. We don't have to do any conversions.
So we could change it there, and then in code, let's go back here.
Yeah, like battery percent gauge. A battery level gauge is a good one because when you think of how much battery is there, level is equates to it.
Oh, okay.
Where power equates to wattage.
Okay. So that one's good. All right. So we've got this gauge here, which is in the layout item. So that, whoops, I hit the wrong button. I hit find. Okay. Header text for this one. This is the battery power gauge. And then we've got a battery level.
Yeah, this is the one I was thinking about that was confusing at first. So the reference would probably be battery level gauge instead of battery power level gauge on 75.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha. There we go. Battery level gauge.
But then we have 2. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So on 21, we also have the same
Ooh.
thing, but that's a radial gauge. So maybe we have to differentiate between radial and linear.
Yeah, we have to change this one first. Let's just do battery level percentage gauge. Maybe. Naming things is hard.
Yeah. And this is
And then I'll
still a
change this with the
percentage.
battery level gauge.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And then we got that battery level. And then we have one more layout or 2 more layout items here. We've got a This is the PV power. And then we've got grid power, which I guess this is kind of repetitive, but it's okay.
Yeah, this is a good question for Blazor folks. Is like when I'm doing these kind of layout designs in XAML, I tend to pick the one that is more intuitive for the user to see and connect to the value in there. Sometimes it can be the header, sometimes it can be the underlying text. When would you decide to make a choice on which one of these to use, or would you change the text to be something different for the header?
I guess it depends on what the visualization is. Let's go ahead and run this again, and then we can take a look. See how this ends up actually looking, and then we can decide if we want to remove some of that data or not. There we go. We're still missing 2. Let's get those in there real quick. Battery power, load power. How'd I miss those? They're little. There we are. They're little lines of code. Header text. Oh, we have a template there too. I guess we could do whatever we want with that. Load power. Somehow I keep deleting the end tag too. Header text. It's IntelliSense doing that to me. I don't know. Me and IntelliSense have a love-hate relationship, I think. We like to fight. Okay. So, let me do this again. I think we enabled hot reload. I probably don't have to keep refreshing it. There we go. So we've got kind of some redundant info here. I think this is what you're talking about, Lance. We've got load power in the header, and then we also have load power here.
Yeah, so I guess this is when we can make a decision on what the best UI design would be for this tile. And if the header is always there, then we don't necessarily need it on the inside. But that might throw
we
off.
could probably make the text bigger instead. Let's try something real quick. We'll run that. Let's get a little data in there just to see what it looks like. We don't really want it to be
good already. I'm quite surprised.
Yeah. Doesn't necessarily need to be ticking and changing all the time. It probably doesn't need to be there, but let's take a look and see what it looks like without it. This is what I like about web development, and coming from a XAML background, I don't think you can quite do this in real time, but you just hit, oops, I deleted the wrong one. Hit Control Z, bring it back. I could have swore I had the right one highlighted. There we go. Yeah, you can just delete that out. That's how it would look without it. Is that clear enough still?
Yeah. I'm wondering why don't we take up the rest of the space, but
yeah, we probably
just spell
don't
out
need
watts or
stack them vertically.
we probably don't need this box around it.
Oh.
We might need the layout part of it. We just don't need the outline-y piece of it. Oh, by the way, this is a handy tip for Blazor developers out there. So Blazor has this crutch, this underlying crutch that it uses. If you go into settings in your editor here, I don't think this is the right settings. Let's try. There's more than one settings inside. So this settings down here. This is the Chrome DevTools settings. And inside of this, if you look at elements, show HTML comments, I like to keep this off because if I come back here, see all these little green things that Blazor spams in here?
Yeah.
This has something to do with like render tree tracking or something like that. It's like the Blazor internals doing its thing. Those make it hard to come in here and tweak stuff in the UI when you want to do like runtime kind of exploring. So if you go back down to settings and then hit show HTML comments off, then it's gone. You don't have to mess with that anymore.
Nice.
So that is the tip of the week. You should take that one and run with it.
If Napalm's
So-
raises a good point. The two hardest thing in programming is naming and cache invalidation.
Absolutely. So if we take these K borders off, I think that's the main piece of it. And then we probably don't need some of the padding around it either. Like that.
Nice.
Does that look better? It could probably be bigger, maybe. But that's a start. So that was coming from the dashboard component compact card. So I think we want to keep the layout part. That's the flex, the border solid, border. Not a big fan of these utility classes sometimes. Background color, align item center, overflow auto, more padding.
Are any of the gauges related in such a way, Lance? You think you might want to include a couple of the little cards in one of the tiles?
Yeah.
Do more than one because they're small enough.
And let's do a refresh of the UI there. It's not working. Hot reload is enabled and it is running, but it's not doing anything. This is why we call it lukewarm reload. It sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. But there we go. The little like chrome around that's gone. Oh, we wanted to remove this underlying value here too. So
Yeah, how would you do that here if
we
there
actually-
if the text has now collapsed that space?
So there's a couple things we can do. We can either check for null and remove the span completely, which is probably what I would do, or you could just render it with nothing in it, which essentially isn't going to show, but
It's still going to be vertically offset though, right? Because this
yeah, and it will send these HTML elements down the wire, which could be in bulk a little bit of a performance hit.
See, this is one of my favorite things about
tens of
Blazor.
thousands of users.
Right here, you're about to put an if statement in the middle of some HTML. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we just say if, and then this is the text. Which it's not nullable, so it's going to be mad at me. We could also have done like is null or empty, but like I'd rather just make it nullable and then just null if text is, not null. That makes more sense. Then we render that piece of UI, and if it is null, then skip it. This is the kind of thing that can get you in trouble too, though, Lance. I think I might have mentioned this earlier when we started working on this page. We started adding these @refs, and we were talking about nullability. And when you start referencing those things, you want to make sure that component references have this nullable attribute on it. Because you think of like, I'm adding these components to the markup. There's no way they could be null. And then somebody goes and throws one of these around the outside of that component and then toggles it on and off. And then you start getting null reference exceptions because it's been taken out of the UI. Even though you see the markup there, it's actually being turned off by the if statement and removed. So the instance actually gets disposed. So you can have null reference exceptions on those component references. So, good rule of thumb is just to make them nullable and check for null all the time in case somebody goes back and adds a feature that toggles that piece on and off. Maybe you're doing a responsive web thing and you don't have real estate for it and you're turning it off, and those type of things can come up later in the design. All right, so let's see. Did it refresh? No, it did not. Let's try that again. I don't know why the hot reload's not working. We have it running in the background here. I guess we're still using that field. So that needs to go away too. So we don't need a text field to be populated at this point, which we may circle back at some time and say we don't need it at all and just remove it from the code.
Yeah, I imagine it would still be useful if we're going to
Power.
put them in a stack. So like maybe later on we say we don't need a separate card just for all 4 of these, and we want all 4 in one card instead, one tile. Then it would make more sense to have them, right? Because you would see all 4, and then the title of the tile itself would be like live values or something. But for now, this is exactly what we want to start with.
Let's kill the browser. Maybe the browser's the problem. See if it starts hot reloading now. All right. So this is what it looks like when there's no data. I don't know what's going on there. Something weird's happening.
Battery low. Yeah, they squeezed to
Oh, I know
minimum
what it
space.
is. When I dragged the thing over, it made it tiny like that, and it stuck. Okay, there we go. So we got data coming in. That looks a lot better. Load power, battery power,
Small
battery
typo.
percentage.
Batter power. That top right one is for pancakes.
Let's see. That one is.
It's not often a typo can be a nerdy dad joke, so I had to throw that one in there.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Battery power. Awesome. And still no hot reload. And I'm in preview, Visual Studio Preview. Like I should have the latest and greatest bits here. And it is not working. I don't think my GitHub
Yeah.
Copilot signed in either. It's not.
I think I remember talking to Dan that it's supposed to be better in .NET 9. Like they identified a few issues with hot reload.
Yeah, they said they fixed it, so. Okay.
Not bad at all. I like it. So how are we gonna save these now?
Yeah, so I was just thinking that if we move that battery percentage to the end there and then we refresh the page, womp womp, it's not in the right place anymore. One more thing that's bugging me is like this button is like overlapping that. We should probably do something with that as well. Let's do something really quick here. So that's a Telerik switch. There's other ways to do this. And maybe we use a Telerik toolbar. So we're going to need some other toolbar items when we start working on the state management piece of this. And then we have a toolbar button. Actually, what a toolbar toggle button. And then the toolbar toggle button has, let's see, I can't remember if this one, the text is in it. Is it title? Specifies the title. Or is it go in here? Say action. Save that. And no hot reload. Come back. Okay, so that, yeah. So we'll use that. So we've got the toolbar toggle, and then we want the value change. Does it have a value change? Boy, IntelliSense, please help me out here. Those are all those on click. I think it's just going to be on click. I don't think it's a value change. I think it's on click. But I think we can use the same.
Looks like they all have on click and selected change with toolbar buttons.
Okay. I think we need to set our own flag for that.
We need to update the text too, so it's going to be handy for that, right?
Yeah. So we didn't have. We had the change event, right? So it was toggle connection is subscribed. Get set the value.
So we can use that as the flag now.
Yeah, so is subscribed starts as false. We just want to say is subscribed is not is subscribed, right?
Yeah.
Because we're going to toggle it. And then we're not going to pass the value in because it's not giving us one. And then that, right?
It's either
Work, right?
that or we move the flip to after the if statement. I guess we'll know shortly. Right, so right now, let's say it's unsubscribed. The app launches. This is probably the most point. The app launches with it not subscribed at this point. Although in the future, we will have it that way because we're collecting stuff in the background in the database. But for now, it launches not subscribed. So that will be null. It comes in here. It will flip it to true. And then, yeah, that looks right.
Yeah, and then let's see. We also need, so we're not going to pass a value to that. So we'll toggle. Oh,
The wrong one. Yeah.
doesn't like that. There is an argument somewhere in here.
But you're operating on the switch, not the toggle button.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Thank you. So we could take that out, and then I think there's a selected, yeah. Selected equals is subscribed. And if we weren't handling the on-click event ourselves, we could just bind to is subscribed, but we want to actually call some methods on that.
Yeah.
On that subscription. I don't think we need all this even.
Can I
'Cause
ask
we're
you
not
that? Is it a
passing anything
requirement that
anymore.
Blazor uses the function?
Sometimes. So if the argument signature doesn't match, yes.
Makes sense. Because then you have to change the values to match the signature of the method.
Yeah. And then there's still some other ways to handle that. There's a T item. If it's a templated thing, you can say, like, Blazor will go, I don't know the type here. You need to help me out. It couldn't infer the type. So you do a T item property and then tell it the type and it'll figure it out.
I've seen that in plenty of demos. I always thought it was just like the employee class.
Yeah, T item is a template property that specifies it's basically like it's like saying I've got a class of T. It'd be the T item.
Yep.
So when you specify what that is, it gives it a type on the generic. All right, so we got a toggle button now. Let's give him a try. Let's see if it works.
So why in this
Hopefully I
case we
coded that
don't
up
need
right.
to use the @ symbol for the is subscribe property? Well, in other times we do.
Oh, there it goes. The @ symbol.
So we're selected.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. So even on resized, we really didn't need that one. It's kind of a thing that can be a good habit because let's say we have something. Let's try. What would be a good example here? The toolbar maybe has a theme. No, it doesn't. The button has a theme. Theme color. And I have a function that I want to define, the theme color. And I say foo function. It just took that, no problem. I don't have a foo function, but it's not calling foo function.
So it's more like a
It's
this statement in C#.
so what's happening here is theme color is a string, and this is a valid string. It also could be a function name.
Yeah.
If it's a function name, I need the @ symbol. Now, on click isn't a string. On click is a delegate, an event callback.
Yep.
So it can't be a string. Therefore, like I don't really need to specify that it is a function because it can infer that. So you really like you can kind of make a footgun out of not putting these @ symbols in here if you run into string properties and you just go ahead and key it in and then it's a string and you wonder why it's not working.
Yep.
So if you're a little more seasoned with Blazor, you kind of get used to what's a string and what's not. The ones where it's really, really tricky, I think, is kind of like right here, for example. We've got Telerik TileLayout. Columns is 4. If I hover over that, you can see it's an integer. But I might have something like size, which this one doesn't have a size property, but let's pretend it does. Size might be just some string value that could be like 50px or 100%. Or something like that. Or I might have some function that returns a string that I want to call to bring that size back. That would require an @ symbol, but the other two values would not.
So the @ is more like saying this is a reference and not a value.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's a string value, but it's this can't be a string, so it's able to infer that it's I'm looking for that function. Just like is subscribed is a bool, it has to be a bool. So if I put anything else in here, like if I put an underscore on the front of it, there's no longer a bool value that describes that. So it's looking for a variable here that it says is not in the current context because it can't be a string, so it has to be a value, and that value is not around. So.
Pretty cool.
Right.
But like you said, it can be a foot gun. So
can be. Don't know what you're looking for. It can be. Let's say newer developers might have they might get hung up on why isn't something working. I'm clearly binding to a value when you're not really. It's just a string. So this seemed to work, but there's a little bit of a delay. But I think we had that with the switch as well. Something we wanted to work on in the future. But now we have a toolbar up here, and it doesn't float weirdly above. Like it looks a little bit smoother there. Probably doesn't need to be called action either.
Yeah. So how would we change that to connected and disconnected?
So we've got our toggle button.
Does that mean we need a string field or is there a text property?
I can't remember. Justin, do you know if there's a built-in field that toggles with the toggle button, or IntelliSense is no help today? Right. There we go. Let's see. We've got enabled is not it. It has a title. That's not it either. I think it's more metadata.
Yeah, I think you just
you have
the
to
field in between the. Yeah.
So we'll just have
in the tag
a field that says like button text or something.
Yeah, you'd have.
Oh, you see where it says action? Just replace that.
Well, yeah, but you have to do if you want to change the text based on. You'd have to say if is subscribed. Then the text is going to be. What did we have before?
Well, let me reevaluate. So I would say connected and disconnected are the most realistic things.
Yeah, we had connected and disconnected. Yeah. See the toggle switch has a connected and disconnected. The button doesn't. Or I mean on and off. So we might actually want to rename that. Oh, this is another gotcha right here. So again, string, it's a string here. It's not escaping this C# code. So this is essentially saying whatever follows this @ symbol is going to be C# code. So we have an if statement here that makes this entire thing a C# code block. Connected is not a variable.
Yep.
And there's no HTML to break out of this C# template. So we need to do something here. We need to say text area. God, IntelliSense works against me. Jeez, I might need to just turn IntelliSense off completely. So now that it looks like an HTML element, I can't spell.
So we don't need to use else in these blocks? Or
Yes, we do.
Okay.
It's supposed to generate that for me, but it didn't. Okay. So now that we have this helper, it helps it break out of the C# template and back into HTML. This doesn't actually render an HTML element. It just represents text.
That's
so
efficient.
That should help. We could also put a span there if we didn't want to just put straight text.
Hopefully the button will resize with the text change, because that's one limitation we had with the toggle button.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It should. I believe it does.
Fantastic.
Connected,
Yep.
disconnected.
Oh,
except I think I was able to toggle it. I think I was able to toggle it before the flag changed. That's what it was.
Is that what just happened? Because
so there's a delay. Yeah, there was a delay on the state has changed, and I was able to toggle it before it kicked in. So this
should we disable the button by
that
default?
we put in?
No, let's not dig into that, because I don't think we're going to necessarily need to handle that in the app later. This is just for us for now. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I click this really fast, it's really confused.
It's backwards now. Yeah.
See it delay and then turn back on.
Oh.
So
okay. So it will highlight. It'll get the selected state and not change the text.
I can
backwards.
I can click enough like that I confuse I confuse the state of the app on it. So that it will be an issue if it's in the final app. That's on us though, not the button. We did that with our delay mechanism here.
Yeah.
This piece of code is causing that bug. All right. And then we want to save the state of the tiles now. And then the reason I put in this toolbar and replace that is because now we can have a clear button for the tile arrangement in case like we want to reset this layout. We now have a toolbar we can put some buttons in to do that. Let's see. And we could also put like preloaded layouts in there too. So we need something to save that layout into. We don't have a database. It's a little heavy-handed anyway. Because we don't have like a sign-in mechanism and all of that. We just want to say for this browser that I'm signed into, I want to save that. We could do that by saving it to local storage. But to save to local storage, we need some help. So we'll go out to NuGet. And we want to add the all package source here and browse for Blazor. Local storage.
That was Chris's package. Nice.
Yeah, Chris Sante's good people. Let's load that in. What's this update pending too? Accept that. Oh man, did you see the Disney thing? I just selected like to accept some EULA as that got loaded. So Disney, there's a lawsuit against Disney for somebody having a food allergy reaction and dying in the park. Oh, Blazor, Telerik UI for Blazor has an update. I probably should do that. And Disney's argument was, well, they can't sue us because they accepted the EULA for Disney Plus. And in the EULA for Disney Plus, we're indemnified against lawsuits.
Yeah, I saw that. It was just a free trial too.
Yeah.
They didn't even have the service. They accepted it for the trial.
Yeah. That's completely unfair.
Yeah, they've since reversed course, I think.
Oh, did
because
they?
of bad
They
publicity.
probably
Yeah,
should.
that's obviously not right.
That sets a bad precedent.
Mm-hmm.
Like a really bad one. Right. So that got loaded in.
So how do the tile? Is the state serializable?
Yes. So we're gonna add a builder dot services add local storage. And local storage, Lance, takes a. Why am I not getting add Blazor? There it is. Local storage takes JSON, and the state will come back as a serializable object that we can serialize out to JSON and then stash in the local storage. Local storage takes JSON content,
Nice.
and then we can pull it back out, reserialize that, and then apply it back
That's
to
a
the
nice,
component.
easy local settings cache. Yep.
Yes. So now we need to go to home.razor. We need to look at the markup here. And we need to inject our service at inject Blazor local storage. Why? Is it not Blazored? I'll steal it, paste it, just so I can. All right, what's going on here? Oh, I'm trying to inject a whole namespace. That's on me. Local storage service. How about that? That's better. Then we need, let's see, we've got the tile layout. There's going to be, I think we want to do it on the reorder. You were talking about that earlier, Lance. On reorder, we want to do stuff. So we'll set up a event delegate for that. And then we need to go over to our code behind. And we have on resize, we'll just drop it right here. Void on reorder. Do we have a reference to the layout yet? I don't think we do. We need a reference to the layout component. Why is it not happy?
I think you
Did
it
erased
it again.
Gosh. Oh, IntelliSense is trying me today. So we need a reference here as well. I like to put these first for some reason. It just gives me a good idea as to where the properties are going. You start getting a lot of these, it makes it hard to find stuff. Ref equals tile layout. So we'll get a reference to that tile layout. Telerik tile layout instance. Oops. That name comes next. I accidentally hit F5. All right, get set And then on reorder, we need to take that tile layout instance and we can do a get state. So it has a method called get state on it. That is going to give us back.
Should we make this into a helper method because we're gonna save and load in multiple places? Like when item resize, don't we want to save again there too, or not?
Yes, that's
Mhm.
correct.
The information in the state is the order and the column and row span.
Let's look for the type. What is the type that comes back off of that state? Tile layout state. That's what it is. State. That's what we get back is a tile layout state. And then we want to save it to local storage. So we'll say state local storage. Set item async. And then this takes two values. It takes a key, which the key is how we're going to find this particular set of data.
So it's a dictionary
in local storage. Yeah, it's a dictionary. Okay. And then the data is going to be what we stored there. I don't think we're going to store anything else but this layout state here for this. So what I like to do here, just say name of, and then the component that we're in. We're at the home component. And then the data is going to be the state, like that. So the key I just gave it is the name of the page or the component that we're using. So if we changed home, like if I went in here and renamed home to something else, dashboard, then it won't lose. Actually, it loses the cache.
Lose it, yeah, it would be a new entry, right?
Yeah, maybe we should hard code it then.
You know, I'm a little concerned here too. Like, what if we do need other settings? Shouldn't this just be like maybe tile layout, preferred layout, like as a string itself?
Yeah, let's do that.
And how does I've done 10 years of serialization logic, right? It's saving data to some form of JSON, and there's always a big gotcha on which properties get serialized and which ones don't. And moving from Newtonsoft JSON to system.text.json, there was a huge change. So what is this using under the covers, and do we have to be concerned about what properties get saved and what don't?
That's a good question. Let's go to dependencies, and hello, Mr. Bigu. Haven't seen you for a while. I don't know why you don't get notified. As long as you're subscribed, you should get notified. Maybe you turn notifications off for Twitch. If we go to Blazor local storage properties, boy, they need to make this easier in Visual Studio. I thought it was just under properties. Maybe if we do NuGet package manager again. Manage NuGet packages, installed. There is a link to the documentation here. And in the documentation, it says...
so we have serializer options.
V4, yeah, we have new serializer options because they broke stuff. And now we use system.text.json. And there's no custom serialization stuff, but you can add it if you want. So this is what they use. So it's a great question. It's like the first thing in the documentation, which it's a very simple package. There's not a lot of docs, but that's the one and only. And then let's do another refactor here. Extract method, save state. And then we can put that there, just like you said. Now we've got save state in two places.
And to get it back
So
out
we'll
is
call
just
it
the opposite.
Yep. So we need, actually, this needs to be a wait, which is going to make this a task, async task, which makes this also. And then this is kind of annoying too. Like I have private there. I don't need it. It's personal preference whether you want to use it or not. By default, it is. Whoops. It's the compiler not even checking what I'm doing
Right.
anymore. I didn't get an error on that. So we've got await, async await. All right.
You should update item resize too before we forget about that.
Why is it
Because
keep
item
saying this
resize is
auto
not
property?
awaiting it.
Tile layout instance does not exist in the current context. Moving auto property requires restart. What does that mean?
An auto property is a
Moving
get
auto-
set, right? So where did you move it to? I don't get that part.
Yeah, I don't understand the error.
Or is it gone? Do we have a reference to the? We never added. No, there it is right there. Line 25. Tile layout instance.
Let's do this. I'm gonna make sure I stop the app from running. We don't have any of them open. Make sure the close the browser. I'm gonna go to folder view, and I'm gonna turn on all files, and I'm gonna remove the bin and object folder. Sometimes things get weird in the precompiled cache. Go back to our app now and rebuild the app. Oh, jeez, what? I restarted the application.
Well, that one makes sense. That one is because you need to change the other one. No, because it would
If it
still be a
called
void.
back.
On reorder is incorrect. Yeah. So it
Is that
isn't
because
like
it's
that you made
async
it an
now?
async task, so it's going to have to be async void. So go to the reorder method. So async on reorder should be async void on reorder. Line 34.
That's oh,
Yes.
oops.
Or task.
Should be
Yeah.
task.
Task.
So that was. I don't know why it didn't catch that. Why is it throwing these
There,
weird
I'm
errors
seeing
instead
no
of telling me
squigglies
what's
for
going
you.
on?
Yeah.
Here, let's do this. Jeez. Just call bankruptcy on the whole thing. I know you guys got to go here shortly. Hopefully, we get this sorted out real quick. See if the compiler has started to agree with me. Got an NRE warning. Don't know why. Looks like it's okay now, though. Oh, there's an await missing here as
Yeah.
well. Boy, this is like, yeah. It just proliferates, doesn't it?
Does the tile layout support? Oh, is that an async method? What is that? Tile layout get state. Is it a wait get state? Why do we have a warning there?
This is a null reference warning. It says tile layout may be null. We're checking to see if it's null, but since it's doing a get state, this would actually have to be nullable here.
Yeah.
So that's what, like, because if this is null, then get state is going to return, essentially, it's going to return null before it even calls get state. And this is not a nullable thing. So we could either keep this, and this is probably good enough. Just say if state is null, which I don't know why it'd be null, but it is what it is. We'll just kick it back like that. But it's still not happy because that should be There we go.
Yeah.
That'll prevent it from setting it to null. There. So we'll save. We don't have a load yet. We've saved it. We have the load method I stubbed out, right? Did I not do that? Reorder, save.
So yeah, when the app first loads, we
Add it
check
and
to
create a
see if
load.
the
I think
setting
so.
exists. If it exists, loading.
Async.
Yeah.
Let's go. Load state. So we've got a load state here. We need to do basically the opposite of this. So take this and we want, instead of calling get state, we're going to call set state. And then our local storage, we're going to call get item async.
We have to tell it what type it is.
We're not passing in state. And then we're, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is going to be a Telerik tile layout state.
I think it's
Telerik
just
layout
tile
state.
layout state.
Oh, it's tile layout state. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then this one can go away. The set state, though, cannot run. Or no, that's not.
And we put that on line
Set
48
state.
instead. Because if it turns get item async, if it deserializes correctly, you'll get an instance of tile layout state, right?
Oh, yeah, that was. Thank you. State. This has to be nullable as well, because so I've noticed this one. This nullability bleeds in from the JSON serializer. JSON serializer is always going to return a nullable. I guess in case there's no data to serialize, it will come back null. And you can find this nullability like creeping into places even where null might not apply. Like get from JSON async does this, and it's kind of annoying because there's absolutely no state in which you will get null back unless the async or the fetch request fails. Like if that fails, then you're going to get an exception rather than a null before the null happens. In this case, it could be null. We could go to get it, and there's no value yet. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's the first time we open the app.
So we should check if
and we
state
don't
is null
wanna-
before we set state then.
Yeah, we don't want to load a null state in there. So we could just do the same thing. If state is null, return. Just copy it.
But that
Literally
is a good
reverse.
topic because the pattern without returning a nullable, the pattern would have to be the or default pattern, like first or default, last or default when using link. Because if it's just first and there's nothing there, it's going to throw the exception. So I guess they didn't want to repeat the or default pattern again.
I mean, so the serializer can return null. It's when you start wrapping things that need to do serialization, like the get from JSON method. It's doing a fetch request. It's doing like HTTP get, post, put, whatever. So you say get from JSON async. It's doing a get. It goes out to some endpoint. It gets data back. It has to serialize that. But a web server doesn't return a null payload. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to return a 404 if there's nothing there. A not found.
It'll be an HTTP response object, and that is that makes
so
sense.
it's null is not a valid thing there. You can force a web server to return null, but it's bad practice to do that. There's some APIs that are written like that, so I guess they were, they had to support it, so it's there. Like you have to always do this null stuff around it when you should just be doing a try catch. But yeah. All right. So we're gonna take that, load it. We need to call load state on after render the first time. We're not going to call it in on initialized because this requires Blazor to talk to JavaScript to get the values, and JavaScript is not always present on initialization. So we want to do it after the component renders because we know after the component renders, JavaScript has to be there.
And is this when we use the first render flag?
Yes. So we'll say if first render await load.
Do you think there's any chance we should put a small delay in there to make sure it's had time
No,
to?
if the on after render
Oh, we're doing it in
fires,
the after render.
it's
Never
good
mind.
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you notice when I typed await, it converted this to async up here?
I thought I was hallucinating
That's
because
nice.
when I first looked at it, I'm like, oh, there's no async. We're gonna have to add it. Then I looked at it again and it was
Watch.
there. Like I must have missed that the first time.
So this is a Visual Studio preview thing. Watch. Await space load state. You saw it that time?
Yep.
But I do need to
That's
go
cool.
make this a task. It doesn't do that part for you. On after render async, it didn't update the method either. It needs to be async now because there are two methods there. And then this should stay where it is. And we should be able to run this, and I think it's going to work. And then I know you guys need to get back to business. So we can load this, connected, getting data, move the battery percentage over to the end here. Let's resize one of these two.
Yeah.
And then if we refresh the page, there we go.
Nice.
It's back where it was. Except that didn't resize correctly, but not sure why. Maybe because it hasn't had data yet. It'll do it when it gets data. There we go.
Yeah.
Which I think would be normal behavior anyway. Your battery's at 100% though. That's good.
That's really
for
good,
you.
right? Yeah.
We could also put like a little notification up here that it's saved the state if we wanted to. Like you can actually make like a little indicator to say, all right, this is saving, auto saving your layout. And then we can add a button here to clear the state in case you want to reset the layout. You put a little reset button up here. Click it and it'll redraw all of this. So
Does it have drop down buttons? We can maybe have a drop down for all layout features like clear. Yeah.
Yeah, we have what is that button called, Justin? It's a
drop down
like a
list
group button or something like that. Button group.
With a radio group.
There's a button. Button group.
Drop down button list. Drop down.
Nope, that's not the one. There's like
it's usually it's similar to it's a group, right? And then the drop down has it's not a drop down list. It is a drop down that expands into several buttons.
Yeah, there is a button like that.
It's probably part of the
down
toolbar.
Button. Drop down button. You might have said that. Did you say that one, Justin? Drop down button.
Yeah, I don't think so. No. I think you got it before me.
Yeah, drop down button is one of the things. I don't know if that's available in the toolbar. I'll have to check. I think you put anything in the toolbar
it's
if you
not
throw
one
in
of the built-in toolbar buttons.
Yeah, you could put anything in the toolbar if you put it in a template, I believe. So there's our toggle, and then
okay, so the toolbar
that's
is
toggle button.
Yeah.
Go the next toolbar template item.
Yeah, you can put anything in there.
Tools.
See, they have a search box in this one.
Okay. Yeah.
There's some toggle buttons. The template, you can put anything you want in it. So we could have technically have stuck the radio or the toggle button back or toggle switch back in there, but
I think the toggle
was
button
built
is
in.
nicer. Yeah. All right. Well, that's an excellent place. Well, yeah, we've confirmed that it's saving and loading correctly, right? So it's a good
Yep.
spot to commit.
Absolutely. I'll do that off air so you guys can get moving on with your business today. We will see you next time. Take care.